As promised, here's part 2. What can I say about the behaviour of Jupiter and Moon again today? Because they can't get on certain channels now, what they're doing is the person they're using is Easy. Because they've literally took over his channel, and Easy is only too happy to sit there going like a nodding fucking donkey. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, if you two say it. Don't know what I did there, but I did something. Sorry, guys. Yeah, if you two say it, well, it must be fucking true. Well, that's not the way things are. So let me get straight on with part 2. So,
I don't have to socialize in life. I don't have to go into the community. I don't have to do anything in the fucking community. In fact, I don't. At the end of the day, if somebody wants to stay at home for the rest of their fucking life, they can do. They shouldn't be forced to leave their own homes just to make other people fucking happy because they're outside of their house and they're fucking work.
So, Sean, Shaun of the Dead, as you just heard what he stated. Now, no, people shouldn't be forced, as he put it, to, leave their home if he feels that he wants to stay cocooned in his home, and all that'll bring to him, which is mental health problems. That's up to him. But then, on the other hand, he can't expect to get help from the state, which will keep him in food, clothing, and put a roof over his head. You can't have it both ways, you see. Now, these days, I've realised that too many people want it both ways. Too many people. This is a world of we expect, we want, and we will have. Yeah. Especially the generations that are growing up behind my generation. We expect, we want, and we will have. Now, if those individuals who are thinking like that are working hard for a living, great, have that attitude, because you're working for it. So you have every damn right of expecting and having what you want, right? But if you're not working for it, no, you have no right to decide and expect anything. Whereas Shaun of the Dead literally thinks he is entitled to every benefit that he could possibly claim. He would rather sit on his arse doing nothing, right? Smoking weed, not paying his rent, buying silly fucking crowns, doing nothing, than going out into the world at what is he now, 29, getting a job and fulfilling himself that way. I mean, he's been lying for the last 2 weeks about this so-called job in London. What an absolute... I mean, it was so funny the other night. Well, I found it absolutely hilarious the way he was going on about he is entitled to money to get him to fucking work, right? Off the government. In what planet is it all right to be like that? Now, I'm not being funny, but if you have a job, right, isn't it up to yourself to get yourself to work and back again? You don't go knocking on the government's door. Hey, I've got to commute each day to London, to Heathrow. Therefore, I want all the petrol money for every week that I've got to go down to Heathrow. Is that the way you want the world to be, Shaun of the Dead? Because you're living in a bubble of delusion, and that delusion literally takes you to the house of plenty, which is what I call the place of benefits, right? I call it the house of plenty. And I bet that you know every benefit you are entitled to, because you come across as that lazy kind of person that has no pride in having a job. You can't be fulfilled in feeling useful in society at the age of 29. You don't want that. What you want is, you want to be kept all your life by the taxpayers, and you don't want to have to work or do anything, and you want everyone to feel sorry for you. And when you get your delusions, right, as in being, you think you're King James, right? Everyone should accept that. Well, no. The kindest thing for people to do is to completely ignore you. Completely ignore you. So you leave and you go and you get the help you need. Yes.
Fucking 9 to fucking 5. That's not fucking life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah,
forced.
you can't, then you just come out it, then you just don't want to be done it. And you stop it then.
But you know, I only got this job because I felt shamed into working. Because people have not stopped saying, "Oh, get a job, get this, get that." You need a fucking
Well,
job.
there you go. Then we won't talk no more about it then.
But no, it's
No,
fine. I don't mind talking, Rick. I don't mind talking. Talking is good.
Oh, we've gone into the
Right?
Scottish accent.
I get overwhelmed with my emotions sometimes.
Yes.
And when I get overwhelmed, it's difficult. It's like a minefield. It's difficult for myself to navigate, let alone anybody else.
Well, then, all right, then let's end the subject. Then you said your truth. Then you said you got shamed. You said it. So there you go. Then you've made your clear. Then that's how you want to live your life. That is
talking about things because it helps, and I think it'll help other people to listen. But the way society has gone for the last 40, 50 fucking years, I'm not the only person.
Let's talk about you, not society. You.
Well, I don't want to be about me.
That's it. Then end the subject. We don't have to talk about it now.
This is the thing, right? This is verging on a broader topic, which is men's mental health in society as a whole, right? Because I'm not the only man to go through this, and that's a fact. Quite a lot of men go through mental health problems and they fucking self-harm, and they don't tell anybody because they're told to be a man and man up and pull the big boy panties up and stuff like that.
Well, right? No, the National Health Service wouldn't have done.
No, they don't do that now.
No.
But the way men's mental health, right, is completely different to women's. 100%.
Of course it is. We've got different hormones going on.
Yeah, exactly, right. And the way.
Okay, let's put a fucking full stop there, shall we? So you've got a woman. You see, these conversations fascinate me, right? So he's just stated that men's mental health is different to a woman's mental health problem. Then you've got the nodding dog, right? Moon. Yes, well, yes, of course it is, because different hormones. Yeah, you know, sometimes I've literally got to stop myself from throwing something at the wall, because depression is depression with anyone, whether you're a man or a woman. It's nothing to do with fucking hormones, right? A man, if you want to talk about hormones, a man isn't going to suffer with, period pain or premenstrual tension, things like that. That is hormonal. But depression Clinical depression is the same in a man as it is in a woman. Anxiety, general anxiety disorder is the same in a man as it is in a woman. There is no sorry, I was it's not different because of fucking hormones. What a ridiculous statement to make. So, when a man is depressed, these days men are being conned into thinking it's all right to say, hey, I'm depressed. Okay. They're made to believe that society will accept their mental health problem. Well, in fact, people like Moon and Jupiter hanging around, it's not going to happen. Because they will literally say, well, actually, pull your socks up, be a man, and just like stop feeling sorry for yourself. Yeah, so that stigma is still there for men, but guess what? It's there for women too. It's always been there, and I think it will always be around. Because I don't think people, unless they've got an interest in mental health, people will not try one bit to. Well, it's not that they won't try, that it's impossible for them to understand. It's impossible for people to understand what they don't know anything about, you see. Because some people just haven't got the time, the patience, or the know-how to understand the vast majority of mental health problems. And Moon has just shown it there. Well, yes, it is different because you got hormone. I mean, please. I want to add that when it comes to premenstrual tension and all of the hormonal thing that goes on with a woman, but as for your commoner garden, for want of a better phrase, depression, it's no different in men than it is in women. And it's no different in women as it is for men. And Sean here, sometimes Sean says the right things, but he says it in a manner that makes people think he's being selfish and just thinking of himself. This is because he's deluded. He's got this delusional, psychotic depression going on. So when he does start to talk sense, it doesn't last long because the delusions come in. And instead of saying to Moon, no, actually, it's nothing to do with hormones, what does he do? He fucking agrees with her. You shouldn't be talking about such a serious subject if you don't know anything about it. If you've never experienced a family member or maybe even just yourself or a friend or anyone who's had mental health problems, if you haven't experienced that, how could you possibly understand it, Moon?
Very good with men. They were very good with me. They helped me get back on my feet, right? And they still are.
What I'm trying to say is the methods to deal with men's mental health is completely different to where you deal with it with a woman's. Women need that emotional support, that emotional well-being.
Oh, do you know?
Whereas men,
I've heard some rubbish in my life, right? But what he just stated there, how can I put it to you? So you get a man, so we've got a man and we've got a woman, and they turn up at the psychiatrist. Well, no, not psychiatrist. I'm not a fan of psychiatry. Well, I am and I'm not. But anyway, so they turn up at the psychologist's and one goes in one room, another goes in another room, and then they've both got clinical depression. I can guarantee you that both the man and the woman will have the same symptoms. When it comes to the thought process, they won't have the same thoughts, but they will have the same dark thoughts, if you like. But it'll be different dark thoughts. But the basic symptoms will be exactly the same. They are not different. And a woman does not need the emotional this and the emotional, not when they're depressed. There is no emotion. The emotion that comes out of a depressed person is a fatalistic emotion, the crying emotion of they've just had enough. It's not emotional. It's not like, oh, give me a hug and I'll feel much better. It's not like that. And it's the same for a man. Because anyone out there who thinks that there's no men that have ever gone and sat in front of a psychiatrist or psychologist and broke down and cried, you're nuts, because they do. They do. They literally, like a woman, they will cry because they don't feel, they've lost all hope, that they feel empty inside. There's no joy in life for them. And it's the same for a woman. They don't know where to turn. They don't know. They can't see that light at the end of the tunnel until they start taking baby steps to get there. So, Sean, what are you talking about? This is what I mean about enabling people who got psychotic depression. He now thinks that he's some sort of credible source to be talking about what a depressed woman needs, because obviously to him, the depressed woman needs different things to a depressed man, when in fact that's a fallacy. It's not true.
So
Men need to feel useful. They need to feel
No,
needed.
they don't.
no, they don't.
They do. They do. Right? And the perfect example was in the Blitz. The perfect
Every human
example-
being needs to feel
The
useful.
Blitz.
Well, not really,
I
because
don't know if they're man or woman. It doesn't matter.
being useful.
There you go. There you go. Teresa goes, I help a man who's has suffered narcissistic abuse. Hi, UNB, and hi, Kyle Holmes. Nice to see you here. Long time, Kyle.
Men have to feel useful and powerful. That's how they
No,
are.
they
in
don't.
society.
Oh my God. No, they don't.
And women have to feel loved,
No, that's
appreciated.
Absolute rubbish. Again, this is his delusion, you see, coming in. He now, like I said, he now thinks he can speak for what women, because he thinks that women need a different in depression to men. He literally thinks that a woman will not be depressed as long as she feels loved, and a man won't be depressed as long as he feels powerful. That was the kind of thing he was saying. So let's have a look. So my go-to favorite is always Mr. Presley, right? There was a man who had everything, yet he was miserable, absolutely miserable. Yeah, he had depression, anxiety, and yet he had everything, and he was very, very powerful. Okay. Winston Churchill, a man with a lot of power for a lot of years, used to have bouts of depression. Okay. The man down the street, who's a lawyer, he has bouts of depression. The woman over the road, who is the lawyer's girlfriend, has bouts of as big anxiety problems. So what the hell Sean is talking about, I do not know. It's got nothing to do with your status in life. because your status in life is neither here nor there. Because when these things, right, when these illnesses come for you, they don't care. They don't care what you're doing, who you are, or what your status is. Yeah. When depression decides to hit home, yeah, it doesn't matter. You can have, I don't know, £1 billion and look for and have the best psychiatrists, psychologists in the world. But if you're not willing to take that step and start helping yourself, forget it. Presley wasn't. Or what did Presley used to do? Now, Presley used to take every medication under the sun because he thought he knew better than everyone else. Presley also employed his own nurse who was able to prescribe his own drugs. Therefore, he didn't have to, answer to anyone. He could get whatever drug he wanted. So, Presley had such bad depression once he got to the age of 40. Obviously, what were the headlines? Fat and 40, and she'd left him. Priscilla Presley had left him because, he was getting on a bit in her eyes and he was starting to lose his looks. So she went elsewhere looking for new men or whatever. And Presley carried on with his lifestyle, which was pretty horrific when you look deeply into it. But this man was a very ill man. This man was a very depressed individual. And that depression came upon Elvis Presley the day his mother died. And it never lifted. It never went away. It just got worse as the years went on. So, that kind of shoots Shaun of the Dead's theory straight out the water. I mean, another one is JFK. JFK suffered with bouts of anxiety and depression. Very powerful man. Very powerful man. Abraham Lincoln, another one. I think the only person, when I've researched, the only person that managed to get through life with that stiff upper lip and never ever feeling down, depressed, anxious, or anything was the Queen. There is nothing that indicates that she had any of that. Why? In years we might find out. Up to now we don't, but nothing at all. So that kind of blows out Shaun's view on things. I mean, ridiculous, really.
Dark Ages, rubbish.
It's not. It's not.
Women can be tough,
Because,
mate. What are you
right,
talking about? My mother was a tough nut.
In the Second World War, right? There's a particular study about it. Right, in the Second World War, right, they had a load of fucking men in the wards, comatose, absolutely comatose. Not
Yes, but that was back then. Times were different then.
Yeah, but say we got hit with the war again. Do you think then 60-70% of the men wouldn't be fucking mental?
Oh, well, look. If there was a Third World War, I would not be looking. The government wouldn't be looking for people like you, Shaun. Because people like you are cowards, and also if there's a Third World War, if you're of age, you don't, you won't really have a lot of choice because conscription would be brought in, and you literally have got no choice. You've got to go to war. I'd like to know what these wards were, where people were like, millions of men apparently were lying comatose on their beds. And he said in the Second World War, I think you've been watching too many American movies, because it's a fact that back then, you were demobbed from when the war was over. You left whatever force you were in, Army, Navy, Air Force. Do you think there was any backup for you? Do you think you got... Well, there was a guy that used to live in my street. And as I was growing up, I remember I used to say to my mum, how come we never see the man that lives in that house? And she used to say to me, oh, he suffers with shell shock. He's got shell shock. And I say, what's shell shock? I didn't know what the hell it was. So she told me what shell shock was. And I remember even then saying, well, is there no help for him? And she even turned around and said, well, help? He doesn't need any help. He needs to just get on with it. And he finds loud noises scare him, so he doesn't come out a lot. And that was my mother's attitude, was don't moan about it, get on with it, put things right if you can. If you can't, carry on regardless. It really was that kind of attitude. And the guy that had the shell shock, poor guy, he lived with his elderly mother. I mean, she must have been 106, his elderly mother. And I don't actually know how old he was. I just know that I'd see him in his garden and he'd be like shaken, it was horrible to see. Then when my mother explained it to me, she then she started telling me about how there was nothing back then for these soldiers coming out of the Army, the Air Force or the Navy, for the horrors they'd seen or anything else. There was absolutely no help for them. So I found myself going to Durham Library when I think I was 13. Get on the bus, go to Durham Library, which is massive, and get all these books out about this kind of thing. And indeed, she was right. I mean, okay, if people were like, if people were a danger to themselves or others, yes, they would get locked up in some asylum. But as for help or understanding, there wasn't a lot of that at all. It was like, well, you've done your bit. Now get to work elsewhere and carry on. So could you imagine the generations that are coming up now being told they've got to go to war? I mean, please, don't make me laugh. If we had a third world war, we must prepare to lose. I'm sorry. The conscripts that would go, would turn up, they would be so, well, actually, I don't have to do that because I'm entitled and I refuse to do it. That's why I say that people like Sean, they love to talk about war and they love to talk about all this kind of crap when actually they're clueless. He's lived a life of never having to face that kind of thing, never having to worry about somebody that's in the theatre of war, of a loved one that is fighting somewhere with no and when they come home, nobody cares. I've recently had a nephew, and his dad worked hard to make sure that he could go to university to become a doctor, right? And his dad rang me up because he was literally so furious that my nephew had decided he wanted to join the army, right? And he asked he asked if I could have a word with my nephew and tell him a few truths that my nephew needed to be told. So I went and I had a visit, and then we went and we had I took him to the Roman Road in London, and I just stood there with him, and I said, "So is this your England?" And he was like speechless, right? We then went and we had a look. We went to the West End of London, and I took him to where all the hotels are. And instead of going to the front of the hotels, I went on the walk at the back of the hotels, right, with him. And I said, now, as you pass each hotel, you tell me what music you're hearing coming out of these kitchens, right? So we went past the first hotel. He goes, Egyptian. That's right. The second hotel, Indian. The third hotel, we had to stop it while he tried to figure it out. And he goes, I think it's Iranian, isn't it? I went, yeah. And on it went, on it went. I went, so is this your England? And he, like, again, he was very crafty, right? Said nothing. I then said, right, so you've heard of the Cray twins, haven't you? You know, growing up, it seems to be a generation. The name the Cray twins gets passed down from generation to generation. Yeah, he says, I went, right, we're going to go and have a look at the Blind Beggar. And we're going to look at the proper East End, not the East End that's portrayed on the TV. So I took him to the Blind Beggar, and then we had a wander around the streets of the East End. I was, is this the East End that you imagined? Because he'd never been there before. And you, no. There you go. I said, right, come on. We need to get the train from King's Cross to Durham. So we get on the train and we get up to Durham. I said, right, so now we're going to Durham Cathedral. We walk into Durham Cathedral. I said, is this your England? And he, with a great big grin on his face, he went, yeah, this is what I think of when I think of England. It's this kind of thing. That down there isn't my England. I don't know what that is, he said, Auntie. I don't know what that is, but it's not England. I went, well, that's our capital city, so it is England. He went, no. And I said, well, you know, when we went past the House of Commons, I said, can you remember we stopped and I said, see that? That's where the power is. If you want to change things in this world, you've got to be in there, in the House of Commons. He went, yeah. I said, well, so if you don't want to go to university to be a doctor, why don't you go to university and study politics if you want to make a change? I said, going into the army these days, you're not fighting for king and country. Yeah, I said, I don't know what you're fighting for anymore. I said, you're not fighting for king and country. I said, because the majority of the people in this country hate this country. I said, it's only when you delve deep that you come across people of Great Britain that love this country. I said, but on the surface, most of them wouldn't lift a finger. I said, and I don't want you sacrificing your life in some foreign country for you to be brought back here whilst other people can run around laughing at your death. So we sat outside of Durham Cathedral, and being being the young lad that he is, he sat for ages and ages. And I'm getting itchy feet, and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, what's he going to be doing? He says, is there anywhere else I can visit? I went, well, no. I said, you in your mind's eye. And then I had to explain what he had to do. I said, visualize. I said, when we got on the train, I said, you saw all the beauty of the scenery outside, the greenery and everything else. I said, you saw England on that train. He said, yes. I go, so when we were in London, I said, that's not England anymore. I said, and that's what you'd be fighting for, that kind of thing. I said, is that what you want to do? So we sat, and he was a bit more quiet, and he said, so then he come out with a question. I know I've gone right off track here, but anyway, he come out with a question. So, your granddad? And I thought, hang on. I said, yes, my granddad, your great granddad. He goes, yeah. So what he fought for, I said, yeah, I said, I know what you're going to say. I said, right, what he fought for doesn't exist anymore. I said, get that out of your head. What he fought for doesn't exist. It stopped existing in 1997. And he asked why. So I give him the whole story of Tony Blair. Then he asked about Margaret Thatcher. And I said, no, that was England. When she was Prime Minister, it's definitely England. Britain, sorry, not just England. I said, but once Tony Blair got in and he opened the floodgates and everything started to change and laws and were creeping in from the EU without us being told about it. I said, and now, I said, you could join the army tomorrow. You'd get 3 months basic training and you could be sent to some war zone, shot and killed within 3 days. And for what? I said, not for this country. I said, don't do it. I said, not for this country. And he, I understood the dilemma he's got, because he kept going on and saying, but, Uncle so-and-so, Dad, your husband, all in the army, you, all in the army, all in the Navy, all in the Air Force. And now it's up to me now, because I'm the next generation coming up. And I said, no, it's not up to you. If you want to look at it like that, and I'm just going to call him, call him Jack. So Jack, if you want to look at it like that, look at it as a whole, as a family, right? The whole of our family. We've done our bit for this country, yeah? And we've paid in blood. We really have. And I don't want your blood spilt for the lazy, ignorant people that live amongst us. Do you understand? And he sat and he said, but you love this country. I went, yes. Where I live, I said, and where you live, and where we're sat right now. I said, this city, Durham, I would defend to my last breath. This city of Durham. The city, the whole of London, I wouldn't lift a finger to help anyone in that city. Because to me, London is nothing to do with me. I said, are you following me now, Jack? Right. So he said, so you wouldn't mind if I said, you don't have to join anything. I said, what I want from you is for you to feel you're making a difference in some way, but not by joining up in the forces. So then I had to educate him on what actually goes on now in the army and what's acceptable in the army now, whereas before it wasn't acceptable. And as I was rambling on to him, telling him this, he stopped me and he went, "What do you mean, Auntie, you would defend this city, Durham City, but you wouldn't defend London?" I said, "No, I wouldn't." He goes, "Yeah, but why?" And he said, and I said, "Well, because London is full of ignorant people." I said, and basically has changed so much that it's no longer, I don't recognize London as part of being of Britain anymore to me. The only thing that's British about London is the royal family. I said, and that's the fact the House of Commons is there, and they're a load of idiots. I said, so you've got to understand, I'm dividing this country up into bits that are worth fighting for and bits that are, I said, I wouldn't move off my chair and turn EastEnders off if there was a problem in London. And he started to laugh and he said, I get you now. Right. He said, so can I think about it? Well, I could have given him a slap. I thought, I've spent all day traveling around. I'm knackered. And you want to think about it? I said, okay, think about it. I said, but make sure you think about it long and hard if you want to think about it. I said, and remember this. I said, too much blood's been shed already in this family of ours. And it won't help any more being shed. So he had a think about it. And I'm happy to say that in October, he will be starting at Durham University, training to be a doctor. All thoughts of joining the army gone, thank God. Now, some of you might think I'm selfish. Some of you might think what I've said was wrong. But in my eyes, it's not. And I would say the same to any kid, who had the same thoughts as him. I'd say exactly the same thing. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's a thankless job. And the state this country's in, the way people think now, me, it's not worth it. Don't do it. And that's the way, unfortunately, the cookie crumbles with me. Apart from Durham City, of course. That's a whole different ball game.
Easily equipped to fight for this country.
Oh.
No, they wouldn't be.
No, they wouldn't. Neither would the women.
No, but that's because they're encouraging them to dress up in fucking high heels and pink tutus.
Telling you that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but to think, you have to look at it in the counterbalance.
They wouldn't
be like that if they didn't go through that trauma. The trauma, right? It wouldn't be like that if they didn't experience that trauma that they should not have ever have experienced, right? And that's more of a pattern of cycles that has to be stopped and prevented from happening to the next generation.
I really can't
right?
listen to this shit.
What you're saying.
Hang on a minute, he's using Babs McKay's name.
Yeah, but you're attracting them by
No, they just follow me anyway. Like, look, you've just seen it yourself, Rick.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not engaging with them.
Fuck it, let's carry on with us.
I'm not engaging with them, and they're fucking still following me. Point proven.
Well, fuck him. Let's carry on with our conversation.
Exactly. They're trying to derail the conversation because they know I'm touching on a serious point. And that's mental health. That's what they don't want people talking about, people's mental health.
Really?
Because I think it's important. I think your mental health is the most important fucking thing, if anything. Because if you've got shit mental health, it's going to affect your body.
Why don't you get help for it then?
I just explained why I can't.
Oh, it's always an answer with you. King James.
What's wrong with always having an answer for everything? I don't see a problem with that. That means your mind is in the right place.
No, it's argumentative.
Yeah.
And you're not soaking in any advice at all. It's your way or no way. You know, even people who have been through it all, who try and advise you, no, not having none of it.
And you're entitled to that opinion. And I respect it.
You don't respect it because you don't listen about it, do you?
You're entitled to your beliefs and opinions. I'm listening to them. I'm not fighting over them. Everybody is different. But society is trying to make everybody the same, and that's a problem.
No, they're not. No, they're not trying to make everyone the same. You just don't want to have to go out to work. It's just simple, because your mental health will not allow you to work. So why don't you just say that? Your mental health will not allow you to work. You suffer with psychotic depression, and you have the likes of Moon and Easy giving you advice, and you love it, don't you? You love it. I can tell by the tone of your voice that you are lapping it up and you love it.
Cut the arse, mate. I'm sorry.
And that just reinforces the negativeness.
Oh, wow.
Because that's the old way. You see, it wasn't long ago that people with mental health were shunned away from society.
Oh,
Yeah, but not now. Not now. Not now.
stop going into
What do you mean, not now, not now? Because we've got care in the community, haven't we? Care in the community brought in by, I do believe it was David Cameron. Yes, and this is where people who need to be in some sort of mental health unit, right, are literally made to live in the community, and they can't cope. I'm not talking about Shaun of the Dead here. I'm talking about the care in the community thing. And these people really cannot cope, yet they're forced to live in the community. Why? Is it so hard and difficult to put people into these hospitals and have them looked after in a basic, decent way where they feel safe? But no, you know, you could get someone who tries to harm themselves on a Sunday. They'd be taken to the hospital, the psychological unit, and they could be just discharged on the Friday to do it again in the fucking community. I disagree with the care in the community angle. I'm sorry, I just do. And as for people being shunned from society, yes, they were long ago, right? Especially women. I mean, because I don't know, up to the 1960s, I think. Do you know women who would be going through the menopause? It was ridiculous, really, when you think about it. Some women who would be going through the menopause and were having a really difficult time would find themselves on a psychiatric fucking ward in the hospital. Yeah, they were looked upon as having problems, mental health problems, when really it was the menopause. And, you know, if you want to go further back in history, a lot of women who had premenstrual tension and all that, they would end up being locked up in asylums for years on end. Because if you think of premenstrual tension, right, it makes you go loopy for about 4 days, yeah? For any of you who have it women-wise, you know this. Yeah, you know. And then it'll go away and then it comes back the following month. So when this would happen years and years and years ago, say at the beginning of the 1900s, the women would be locked up behind these big walls in these big asylums like Bedlam for years and completely forgot about practically, because the family didn't have the money to get them out, and they were practically just left in there to die. And women, unfortunately, bore the brunt of it because it wasn't so much as the mental health as it was physical ailments that came about because of being a woman. Yeah, the menopause, premenstrual tension, and things like that. It wasn't understood as it is. Depression, you know, I'm trying to think of the word for, and anxiety. Men would get locked up for years and years at a young age, say from 17 till they were in their late 60s in these asylums. You know, with where they did experiment after experiment on men and women. They'd shove them in these hot tubs, right? And practically burn them alive to see if it would help. They do something called a lobotomy, which has been proven not to work. You know, they used to get up to all sorts in these asylums. So why James is even, we just don't want to go back there. No. Bad place to be.
This thing, just go into real life with your own life.
Only when they come online and they act out all the stupidity, and people are there giving advice day in, day out, and it's no, I'm not going to do that, not going to do that, not going to do that, till in the end, well, nobody can offer advice anymore, so there's no point talking about it.
I'd like to know what I've actually refused.
Well, Easy told you some places.
He's now in full delusional mode. You can tell by the tone of his voice. He is enjoying the delusion of himself with Moon. Okay? So he's in full delusional mode, and this silly bitch is so thick, she doesn't realize it.
To go to get help. Mine, yeah. Was it Easy?
I offered you, I would help you. I would be an advocate. If you said I would have been an advocate for you, I would have helped you to get that support. But no, listen, just shut up. Let me speak.
And that's why I wouldn't have you as an advocate.
You speak and you don't fucking listen.
I would not have you as an advocate if you speak to me like that.
Because, Easy, you cannot have a conversation with somebody who is delusional because they're always going to be right. And why does he need an advocate anyway? He's perfectly capable, more than capable, of talking for himself. But if he was in front of the right person, they would see the delusions that are going on with this man and not enable and encourage his behavior the way that you lot do.
That because that's not how you speak to somebody you're an advocate.
Well, fuck off then. You're not getting no fucking advice from me, you fucking cantankerous little sod.
You see, that doesn't
No. That's you being cantankerous and being a pain in the fucking arse. Now I know you're not serious about yourself.
Yeah, let Easy finish saying what he was saying.
No, forget it. Get on with it. Fuck it, I'm done with it. Get on with it. I don't need it in my life either. Get on with it.
I don't need somebody to speak for me, Easy. I can perfectly speak for myself.
Obviously you do, because you're cutting yourself up, and you just get on with it.
Yeah, I honest belief he did, because he was outside my home.
What have I done? Oh, press the wrong button. Sorry.
But at the end of the day, I'd rather just piss off from this community than sit there and agree with people that another person who, yeah, is a bit of a cunt, tried to murder someone. It's just fucking ridiculous.
But I provided the evidence of it. That's the thing. He was there. He was seen on CCTV. He was sat outside my house for at least an hour, 2 hours before I left to go to work. And it's not the first time he's done something to me.
Right, where's the CCTV?
But when you
footage?
left to go to work, surely you took the car with you.
Yeah, I went to the job centre first.
Just put arguments that weren't even nothing to do with me down to me. I'm supposed to be this big manipulator. I've got my own reasons why I don't like him, because he bad mouths without proof. But at the end of the day, I don't think he fucking cut your brakes. No.
I think he did.
Listen, he ain't that stupid. I mean,
To go to court, shows up at the court, tries fucking causing trouble in the court.
you see the problem with you coming online talking all this bullshit?
What?
You do know he could go to the police and say that you've tried to set him up.
Well, let him fucking go to the police because I've already been to them. So
Yeah, and he goes to the police and makes his counter allegation. All nice and comfy like that in the middle of the fucking night.
It's fucking noisy.
it's not.
It's metal. It's metal.
Believe something. I'm not blaming no one else, because I would have been suspicious in that direction anyway, because of stuff that had been said beforehand. A bit like you think that you're suspicious, you believe it's him. But I was led to believe that. It was like the final cherry on the top. I come on and said it. I still believe it. But I can't categorically say it was definitely that person.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You know,
You see all the drama
I
that
have-
unfolded over that.
Yeah. You had a reasonable belief. You had a genuine belief. A genuine belief is completely different. If you have a genuine belief in
Yeah,
something,
but you're going around saying it was definitely him.
No, I do believe it was definitely him. I do.
now you see at this, you know, this conversation, like I said in the first video, should never have happened publicly. But these two, you know, Moon and Jupiter, are so desperate to be heard that, you know, they do everything like this publicly. All I've got to say about Shaun of the Dead, right, is he does have psychotic depression, and people need to ignore him so that he toddles off and gets the help that he needs. I'm not interested in Shaun. I just found what he was saying extraordinarily interesting, simply because these people around him were enabling him to be the way he's ended up. They seem to forget the night that I think it was Den Tarragon was accused of being some sort of pervert that used to live with Shaun of the Dead. And neither Jupiter or Babs McKay or Easy or Moon bothered to tell Shaun of the Dead that he was mistaken, that he was wrong. They all knew he was wrong, but they allowed it to carry on until said man, Den Tarragon, turned up outside of Shaun of the Dead's house. Then they didn't think it was so funny. Did you? Then it was, oh, Den Tarragon's a bad person and all the rest of it, right? When in fact it need not have never happened, right? Because if you lot had spoken up and said, look, Shaun of the Dead, you're mistaken because A, B, and C. You made him believe he was correct. And with a person who is easily put in that delusional state, it doesn't take a lot for him to think he's absolutely right. And his delusions will carry him off to fucking Moo land. Yeah? He'll go straight to Moo land and think he's correct, while you lot all sit round the cauldron laughing and fucking giggling like the bunch of witches that you are. I've listened to so much from you two, and I'm just trying to wonder now who will be the next victim? So you've made Sean go more delusional than he'd normally be. Oh, Sean, you know, you need to go get help. But who's going to be the next victim? Shall I tell you who it's going to be? It will be Easy. What will happen? Easy will dare to disagree with one of them, and that's when the abuse will start, and they'll start up their own streams, and they'll start moaning about him, okay, and saying that he did this and he did that, because you see, unfortunately for Moon and Jupiter, their other buddies seem to have disappeared off YouTube. Ethor and Bleeding Heart were taking a step back, you know. I do think that things got a bit hot for Esau when Veli was angry at him and her. And I don't think Esau liked what he heard, so he's fucked off. All right. Hey, wonderful. But I heard the Jupiter today saying how she'd never speak to Veli again. I mean, how many times does this woman turn everything around? It's nothing to do with you will never speak to Veli again, Jupiter. Veli wants nothing to do with you and Hector. And she actually said today at some point, I don't know what he's got against Hector. Now, the fact that Hector wished harm on his children, on Veli's children, yeah, sexual harm, by the way, on his children, I mean, she seems to have forgot all about that, because she'd rather go on easies and play the big, you know, I'm the righteous one, along with the little dog called Moon. But you know, the where they can go is getting smaller and smaller. So now, let's think now. So they've got easies. She's got Jedi. She can always go over there because he enjoys listening to her getting the piss took out of her, and when she doesn't realize it, he sort of treats Jupiter the way he used to treat Betty, taking the piss out of her without her knowing that it's happening, so that she can go there if she wants. Moon literally just has easies to go on to. Oh, and King James, the idiot, yeah. That's it. They can't come on my streams when I go live. They certainly can't ever go on Luke's. They can't go on Kaylee's. They can't go on Veli's. You know, that'd be killing her that she can't go on there, because yesterday there was quite a good discussion going on Veli's, and she'd have loved to have gone on there and, you know, had her 27th fucking hour talk on there, but she couldn't, because she knew she wasn't welcome. But she's turned it around to say she's never going to talk to it. It's not that at all. Yeah. So there's not many places for those two people to go to, you know. And the dog, anyway, the dog's leaving in October, so hopefully, you know, 3 weeks time, and she'd be gone anyway. So that'll be brilliant, won't it? So I want to leave this with these words. Don't encourage Shaun of the Dead. People ought to not talk to him. People should find it in themselves to be able to totally just zone out from him completely, like I do all the time. Just zone out from it, forget he even exists, and let him fight his psychological battles with the people who know what they're doing, which isn't the people on YouTube. So Jupiter and Moon, you know, pat yourselves on the back for making a person with mental health problems worse than they already were. And easy, get ready, because you'll be the next one, right? You will say something that they won't like, and boom, you're going to be next. And hopefully we will get rid of these two individuals, because they need to be gone. And Jupiter, you know, you would never win in a debate with me, Jupiter. Never. Because as I said in another video, you don't have the patience, the intelligence, or the foresight that I've got. What you have is the fishwife look, a mouth of such a foul mouth, it wouldn't be out of place on the streets of Sheffield, walking up and down as a fucking prostitute. Yeah. And your educational level is very basic. Secondary school level education is what you have. And that is it. Nothing else. So yeah. What my next video will be about, I don't know yet. I'd like to touch on the subject of fibromyalgia, because I have a theory about that. I might very well do that, but I had to get this out of my system, because those two, they need to be put in their place. And Shaun of the Dead needs to be ignored until he realizes it's no point in coming on YouTube, and maybe gets his ass out of the house, down to the doctor's surgery, and sees people who can actually help him. Yeah, because that would be a good start, wouldn't it? Other than that, that would be my last word on Shaun ever.